Cruel, heartless and unforgivable. It's the taxi trick that prevented 72-year-old Karen from going to her husband's funeral. The grieving widow was robbed of her final goodbye. So how did it happen?
72-year-old Karen Terry might be living with Parkinson's disease, but her mind is still sharp, and she never imagined she would miss her beloved Brian's funeral.
It was her last farewell. I mean, my mum, being married to my dad since, 1975, she couldn't say goodbye.
Karen's daughter Sarah did everything she could to make sure her wheelchair-bound mother could attend Brian's funeral after not having left her Sydney nursing home for 2 years.
I just feel awful and sick that I couldn't be with her to support her.
What did it mean to you to get to his funeral?
Say goodbye. They didn't get that. They took that chance away from me.
But you were waiting, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
They had all dressed you all nicely.
I had no idea that they were going to turn up.
What were you thinking, Karen, when you were sitting there?
Where in the hell are they?
Oh, hi, I just wanted to confirm
Sarah booked a maxi taxi with 13 cabs 2 days before the funeral. She says she even confirmed twice with the company the day before.
And you thought that this was all sorted? This was...
100%.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Sarah's husband, Jason.
Sarah got a call 2 minutes before pickup from the driver saying, I'm 2 minutes away.
Yeah.
So a call on arrival.
But more than half an hour later, Sarah received a phone call from the nursing home to say Mum was still waiting to be picked up, sending this already grieving family into panic.
What did they tell you when you called up?
They said that the driver had closed the job but hasn't picked anyone up.
They did say, we've made you a priority booking. I mean, how much more of a priority do you need to have a disabled old lady who's bedridden to come to a funeral?
They called and they called.
She said, I've told the supervisor and we've reported the driver. And you're like, we don't care, we need a cab.
Sadly, picking Karen up themselves wasn't an option.
It was a hospital bed on wheels.
It wasn't like we could just put her in another cab. She had a quite specific need.
Sarah and Jason say they delayed the proceedings as long as they could, told repeatedly the next taxi was only 10 minutes away. But when almost an hour passed, they were forced to make the devastating call to go ahead without Brian's most important guest.
You're gonna have to forgive me a little bit. I'm still livid about 13 cabs.
What was your mum thinking through all of this?
So my mum got to watch it online. I mean, obviously that's not the same thing. She was quite distressed, as you can imagine.
Then, one last kick in the guts, Sarah received a call during the wake.
She got called again to say, look, your ride's here to be picked up and that, and it's like, Brian's gone.
The family wished they'd been told the truth from the start.
Just give us the answer. Just tell us early on that, look, it's not going to happen, it's going to be hours away. Do you know what I mean? That we might have had time to organise something else.
13 Cabs has told A Current Affair, upon arrival, the driver decided to flash the fare.
It's a very old habit. You accept a fare, you start to head in that direction, you realise it's not a good fare, so you turn the meter on, run it for a few seconds and then turn it off. It shows up in the network system as you have picked up the fare.
Michael Jules is the president of the Australian Taxi Association.
What he's doing is cutting corners, and those corners can endanger the public, can make people very unhappy and cause this particular poor lady to not get to her husband's funeral. It's ridiculous.
In a statement, the taxi company says
13 Cabs is deeply troubled to hear about Miss Terry's experience and apologises unreservedly. The driver who contacted Miss Terry has been contacted and will be asked to explain their actions.
Before the pandemic, here in Sydney alone, there were 670 maxi taxis on the road. Today, there are just 343. And if you ask the drivers, they'll tell you it's now a job hardly worth doing.
I got another 15 cars like this somewhere else.
Just sitting there?
Just sitting there.
Richard Lynn owns some 30 maxi taxis, but as you can see, most of his fleet is sitting, not even idle.
I can't put it back on the road. The cost of putting back on the roads is too expensive for me.
Richard says taxi drivers have become desperate.
You have a time limit, like to make this money. So you're trying to do a lot of things like you're not supposed to do.
That can have devastating consequences.
Yes,
can't it?
absolutely. And the driver should take responsibility for it, as well as the network, as well as the operator.
The cause of the mess is not just COVID, it's the fact that the New South Wales government hasn't done what they said they were going to do. We were meant to get reforms to the industry, and we were meant to get a level playing field between us, taxis, and rideshare, and it just hasn't happened.
We understand the industry is facing tough times, but there is still no excuse for what this driver put this family through.
I want this to never happen again. I want this to never happen to someone again. I think it's absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah, it certainly is. No apology or explanation can change what happened to Karen. It is inexcusable, and that taxi driver should hang his head in shame.